Still sitting in a truck seat that's older than your favorite pair of work boots? Your back has been filing complaints for years. If your seat is worn out, sagging, or just plain uncomfortable, it's time for an upgrade. Head on over to seatspecialist.com. Check out their selection of quality replacement seats built to keep you comfortable mile after mile. And don't forget to use promo code TR10 4U to save 10% on your order. Seatspecialist.com, because a better ride starts with a better seat.
What's up, y'all? It's your go-to guy, Truckin' Ray. You're listening to That's Delivered, the show where we talk about life on the road, lessons learned, and real stories that fuel us and get us through it all. Today's guest is, man, he's been through it all. He's been through the fire. He came out forged like steel. Nick Klingensmith is a motivational speaker, a former corporate leader, a Spartan race warrior, and the author of Through the Fire, a memoir of trauma, addiction, and recovery. His story is one that punches you in the gut, lifts you to your feet, and says, let's do it again. This episode is for everyone who has felt they were stuck, lost, or just like giving up. For truckers out there that are driving endless miles, wondering if anyone sees the weight that they're carrying. Well, Nick sees you, and his message is for you. So let's get into it. Hey, Nick, what's happening, man? So happy to have you on the show.
Just happy to be here, man.
That's awesome. And you got a great story to tell, man. I mean, it's a lot to really absorb that one man has been through so much and has come out. I mean, you've changed the game when it comes to feeling bad for yourself. You've changed that up, saying, hey, I can make this into a lot of things. So, hey, man, I want our listeners to enjoy it and also understand what you went through. So it looks like a lot of it starts with some addiction, trauma, and also facing yourself. A lot of times people don't want to do that. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like starting out, kind of unravel what it was, the alcoholism, broken relationships, and hitting emotional rock bottom? What moment looked like it was for you?
There was a handful of key moments. I mean, nobody's story is just one, right? Everything you've got your backstory, your origin story, you've got your work life, your social life, all these different things, your physical health, your mental health, all going at the same time, like chaos theory. And sometimes they intertwine. I like to say that one of the most pivotal moments was when my boss, back when I was still working in logistics, he walked into my office and he said, hey, I want to do a Spartan race and you're going to do it with me. And I looked up at him and I'm like, the fuck I am. Like, that sounds terrible to me. An 8 to 10 mile trail run with obstacles. And I'm supposed to train for this shit, get in the mud with, no, I had no intention of making myself that uncomfortable.
Wow.
And that's when I went home that night and I discovered the problem. I already was that uncomfortable. Because get this, I was peaking. I was 2 years sober at that point. Nice. I was a VP of sales. I had like 100 people working for me. We were crushing goals. I was dating an amazing woman that's now my wife. And I had just decisively beaten cancer for the 4th time. And I realized that I was stuck and I was terrified to do something about it. And so that was one of the catalysts for me because I just wanted to do something different. I just wanted to break the cycle, right? Like, so I'll go back in time a little bit here.
Yeah.
I was first diagnosed with cancer the first time when I was 25 years old. Wow. And I'm going to give you the abridged version and ask away anything that you want to pick on here because it's a story. But in that period of time, I was diagnosed with cancer 4 times, type 1 diabetes. I had shoulder surgery from a beach volleyball injury. I had hip surgery from a beach volleyball injury. I had nerve damage as a result of the first injury. I was in 2 separate car accidents, one of which was a rollover fatality accident, both of which gave me 7 herniated discs and multiple nerve damage, permanent nerve damage in multiple spots. I almost died from meningitis. I think I'm forgetting something here. And there was a period of time where alcohol wasn't always part of my story. Well, that's not let me go back. Alcohol wasn't always a main player in my story. And when I was first diagnosed with diabetes, I guess I'm leaving a few other things out too. So I was a competitive beach volleyball player for about 20 years while I was in sales, both in telecom and logistics. And that was actually a huge priority in my life. That's where I got the shoulder injury and the hip injury and everything like that. And when I was diagnosed with diabetes is when I decided that I was going to take control of it. I felt like a victim for a couple of days. And then I was like, well, I'm diabetic. Whining about it's not going to change anything. I was determined to manage it. So I decided to quit drinking. And at that point in my life, alcohol really wasn't that big of a factor for me. It was just something that wasn't like, oh, I have sleep apnea too. That's what it is. Because sleep apnea made me not really want to party that much anyway. So not like you really wanted more downers when you're tired all the time. And so about a year after I was diagnosed with diabetes, my 25-year-old sister killed herself. And
whoa,
I was back home with some friends, and I just remember I write about it in my book too. We were having a few Bud Light Limes, and nothing bad happened. The floor didn't open up underneath me. Blood sugars didn't get crazy. And so I was back, and something that was no longer part of my life suddenly became all of my life. And so I became a highly functional alcoholic for about another 5 or 6 years. And I say highly functional because my career peaked during that time. And also I didn't go to jail. I didn't go to hospitals. I didn't lose my car. There was one scuffle, but I didn't get in fights. I wasn't that type of a drunk. And so it was so easy for me to hide and to lie to myself and to ignore just how selfish and destructive I was. And I think about now too, just so many times that I put my addiction before my job. I was doing so well that I had all these ways to continue to lie to myself. And that's when I was diagnosed with cancer for the third time. And that time was different though, because that time they told me that I have a tumor in my neck and they don't want to operate. Now, spoiler alert, okay? It has been 11 years. And that tumor still takes up real estate in my neck. But at the time, all I heard was I had inoperable cancer. And so I crawled myself deep into a bottle until I found myself a bottom. And that happened in July of 2014, where I came to, had a rare moment of lucidity on the hallway floor of a Las Vegas hotel, surrounded by cops and security, being told that I had to leave because I had been in a fight and I tried to have sex with a hooker in a broom closet while my girlfriend slept in our room down the hall.
Whoa.
I figured I could talk about drinking, 10 years of drinking for an hour and a half, or I could just tell you that story and drop the mic.
Wow, that is power packed. That's a lot, man.
I know I gave this terrible back and forth thing here, but all these things are ultimately connected because I went home that next day and I got sober.
Okay.
And, God willing, it'll be 11 years next July, this July. And those first 2 years were wonderful. I mean, I was just becoming a better person. I was cleaning up the wreckage of my past. I even had other trauma that fell into my life. My mom died the next year. I mean, there was things that I don't think I would have been able to handle if I was still drinking. And I'm not saying it was great when I was only a year sober, but I'm reasonably certain that cancer saved my life because it helped me get sober faster.
Okay.
If I had still been drinking when my mom died, I think I would have drank until I died.
Wow.
So I gave you all the bad shit, and then I gave you the turning point.
I appreciate you putting all of this out there. I mean, you realized you had something to share. When you had all these things happening, some people keep it to themselves, and you would never know. What made you think that you should share this with other people?
Well, that definitely took a while. I had to go through my journey, and I don't mean the bad stuff. I didn't know the mindset that I had throughout all of that was a victim. I wasn't tough. I wasn't gritty. I wasn't resilient. I wasn't some positive guy like I am right now. I was a bitch. I was mad and I blamed people. And I used it as excuses to not be my best, to not live my best. I used all those things as an excuse to why I could justify my behavior when I was drinking. Oh, if they only knew, and this and that. I mean, I was literally digging the hole, the entire time. And I didn't know that. So what ultimately had to happen is first, I was introduced to a new way of life. And I'm talking about when my boss introduced me to that race, because I had created this mental bubble around myself. All right. Look, I got up to 240 pounds. All right. I was convinced that I could never run because of my diabetes, my knees, right? I could never adventure because of my sleep apnea and diabetes, and I'm out of shape, and I could never lose the weight and get fit again. I could never. And then all of a sudden, my first race, here I am running through the woods. I'm tackling obstacles like a little kid. No fear, no doubt, no inhibition. It wasn't me against the world. It was just me in the world. And I'm telling you something. I had created such limiting beliefs about myself that I was living in a bubble. And when I jumped the fire that day, because every Spartan race ends with a fire jump, when I came through the fire that day, I redefined everything that I previously believed about myself. And I wanted more. I was like, holy shit, I was wrong. What else was I wrong about? Let's go find out.
Right. Let's speak about that. Being a young one, you mentioned being a kid who never felt like he was enough. And for truckers out there listening, many who carry, their childhood pain or even into adult life, alcoholism plays a big part of being a truck driver as well, because we're supposed to have, you're not supposed to have that in your system when you're behind the wheel. A lot of people struggle with that. Statistics are out there for truckers. I mean, so how did that early trauma shape your battles later in life? What would you say to those truckers out there?
Well, I'll tell you what, I mentioned something about victimhood earlier. It's not entirely true. Sometimes we need to have that victim mindset. And what I mean by that is for a long time, all right, because we're talking about, there are things I haven't talked about here. And I do mention some in my book, but it's like, my life wasn't an after school special, but there was plenty of trauma growing up too, like things that led to, who I am, how I am, etc. And train of thought. We were just talking about how do we get victimhood. There you go. So anyways, for a long time, I needed that anger. Let's call it what it is. I needed that anger. I was angry at the world. I was angry at my parents. I was angry for those who didn't love me enough or didn't meet my expectations. I was angry, and I used it like armor, and I needed it. That's how I paid my way through school. That's how I made myself successful. That's how I literally did all those things. But there comes a point where it begins to work against you. And that's what I didn't see the difference in, because me against the world is the rally cry of the victim mindset. It sounds counterintuitive because you're like, yeah, me against the world, because you're gearing up for a fight. I get it. But you can't be against the world if you don't feel like you're victimized of the world. It's a victim response. I don't need to win like I did before. I don't need to beat everything. The way that I beat some of the trauma that I have held is finding a way to let go. It's a lot easier said than done. I'm 46. We're talking about things that are 40 years old, right? But recognizing it. And, you would ask a question that I'm taking a very long-winded way of getting to because of certain parts of the story of how I had to realize. But there was the new way of life, right? But then what had to happen after that was to have it almost taken away. Because that second car accident that I talked about, it came when I started this endurance racing journey about 6 months after that. And in that 6-month period, I felt like I was becoming someone else. Like mind, body, and spirit, I liked who I was. And that's when I was hit by a second car. That's when I got several herniated discs, permanent nerve damage. That night, my cat died. 2 weeks later, the lady who hit me died. All I was doing was sitting at a red light, but I felt responsible. And so, all this shit happened in one goddamn day for the most part. And
wait a
so
minute,
I found
you felt responsible for your cat dying and the lady dying in the car?
Well, I'm deeply passionate about my pets. I was just devastated about my cat dying. But for the woman, even though all I was doing was sitting at a red light, and I don't know if she was conscious or what, but she hit me going full speed.
Right.
the last thing that happened to her was me.
Wow.
It doesn't have to make sense.
Right.
If it made sense, it wouldn't hurt so bad.
Right.
And all that stuff happening at once, it was like everything inside of me just wanted to give up. I didn't want to drink, but I just wanted to give up. And I just didn't know what that meant, though. But I had this despair, right? And so the thing that ended up happening here with this, and this is where the mindset shift happened, okay, is you keep going back to work. I want to give up on whatever, I quit, but you keep showing up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I got to take a shower. I got to go to work. I got to eat. So I might as well buy food. I got to walk the dog. I might as well start exercising. And I put another race on the calendar because you keep moving forward. You keep showing up. You keep living your life. The other things will get there. But as I'm doing that, I was flat, man. I wasn't in it. And I was listening to this motivational compilation on YouTube, like a couple guys going back and forth about victim or survivor. Are you a victim? Are you a survivor? I'm like, what's the fucking difference? People have been telling me I'm such a survivor my whole life. And I'm like, what's the point of just surviving, of just hanging on, waiting for the next bad thing to happen? I'm like, that is not what I'm here for. That's not why I grinded my way through college and worked full time to get there. I'm not here to survive. I'm here to thrive. And I threw a glorified temper tantrum. And so that I will not be defied by my circumstances, but rather my triumph over them. And that's one of the reasons I like doing really long, stupid ass distance races, because I want to show diabetes, you ain't got shit on me. I race with fuck cancer written on my chest. I fundraise for the American Cancer Society. It's the way that I punch back against cancer, right? With my alcoholism, I help other alcoholics get sober because that's how I recover. And so I found that through all this whole journey, that I found a meaning to my suffering and a purpose to my life, is that I can now use what I have to help others. And so that's when I wrote the book, Through the Fire. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I wrote it because I wanted to write it. The first version was like 125,000 word ego manifesto. It was like a movie poster with The Rock and Jake Gyllenhaal on the cover. The second version is when I had to get honest, because I still had too much deflection and excuses, right? It wasn't raw. And so when I cut out 37,000 words and I put this just raw and honest, this is who I am book out there, I had no idea if anybody would read it. I just figured I had a message and maybe that person who did need it would find it. And over the next 2 years, they found me and they told me about themselves. Random ass people telling me their stories and how mine resonated with theirs. And that's when I knew I had a story to tell and something different to give. So 18 minutes later, I answer your question.
Oh, you're great. I love it. People need to hear those struggles. I mean, the fact that you wrote a book thinking about, could I reach one person? You ran into many individuals that had the same impact in their lives and can relate to yours as well. I think that's huge. It's a great way to look at things for a focal point to keep pushing. I got many truck drivers out there, they push through every day. They're like silent battles. There's signs that people should look for. What would you say to these individuals or people that love them to stop functioning, but to start healing? What would you say?
One of the questions you had asked about when I was able to share or start sharing, one of the hardest things I had to do was the second version of that book, because I had to take a real look at what happened. I had to stop blaming my parents for things I did when I was 35 years old. I had to take responsibility for all of it. And one of the other hardest parts is this. When I was going through the book and I'm just looking at all the totality of the shit that happened, including the things I'm not even remembering right now. And I started to get a little whiny again. And I was like, man, when is this going to stop? And then I'm like, you know what? It's not. I didn't get batted dealt hand. This is just a seat I sat in. I'm a poker player. This is life. And you know what? You don't get your share and then all of a sudden everything's going to be honky-dory. Like, life will continue to hit as long as you are alive. And I'm like, maybe I should look at the fact that I'm really fucking good at this. Bring it. Yeah. And so that's when I realized, I'm like, fuck it. I am meant for a long, hard climb. Like, let's take it. And so that also meant, though, being vulnerable and putting out my fear and talking about the things that the raw things that I really did wrong, right? And the why I did them, because I was afraid, because I wanted validation from women, because the real, honest, vulnerable truth. And when I realized I put all this stuff out there in the world, you know what I stopped doing? I stopped being afraid of what other people thought about me. It was sort of an 8 Mile defense. Remember the movie 8 Mile?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the last battle rap, right? Eminem comes out there and just drops all the shit they're going to say about him. And he's like, what are you going to say about me?
Can't do
that. That was kind of my approach. I'm like, screw it. Like, let's put it out there. And when I realized then, because now, you know, there was a time where I worked in a building with 300 other people, right? And I had all the social interaction and stuff like that. But now I work from home. Truck drivers probably see more human beings than I do. So how often do I get to interact? How often do they? When I started just sharing the things I was afraid of, and instead of getting, and I mean sharing publicly, social media where strangers are going to see it, I didn't get, I mean, yeah, you do get some idiots, but you know what I got people relating back to me. That's it. And you know what it showed me? I'm not alone. Whatever I'm going through, I take, you know, it's funny, we talk about, yeah, I get it. I have been through a decent amount of stuff there, but to be honest, you know what I've discovered by speaking about it? I'm not special. I'm not special. Everyone has their own frame of reference, but I take great comfort now into my lack of uniqueness. I'm part of a tribe. I'm part of something. You know, when I share this, I'm not on my own anymore. And everyone has stuff that they go through. Just because there's different severities, the frame of reference is what really matters. If nobody's ever stubbed their toe before, and that's the worst thing that ever happened to them, then it's, you know, that's cancer to them. Who am I? I don't have to experience it the way they do. You know, I can. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I like how you said that. I mean, a big piece of the story is your importance that you put on serving or helping individuals. It's a key part of your recovery. So you have to acknowledge the pain that they go through. You can't dismiss it. Otherwise, they're going to be like, who is this guy? He's got something, you know, better than me all the time. But yeah, it's not a one-up thing. I like that.
I'll tell you that I had no idea what would happen when I finally started speaking, but it doesn't take long for me to see it, because whenever I'm asked, like, hey, how'd it go? And I'm like, I always say, I don't know. I can never tell from the stage. You know, like you watch TV where 300 people stand up and jump up and down for you. And but if it's not that, then I don't know. But my barometer, and this is what I tell everybody, is who comes up to me after and shares their story with me. And that's when I know I've reached people. That's all I need to know, because by me just opening up, and really because I like to talk about not necessarily what I went through, but the experience of what I learned about it now. Because otherwise, honestly, commiserating with someone else who's just sort of I have a friend right now who's going through a tough time with cancer. I'm trying to be the one person in his life to not tell him what to do. And at the same time, not allow him to spend too much time feeling sorry for himself. Nobody knows how to deal with a cancer patient. And to be honest, I don't know how to deal with another one either. You know, I really feel like we have our own unique experiences here, but, you know, and that's how I think I can the little bit that I can help him is everyone wants to tell you what to do. They always have an aunt or an uncle or a cousin who did this or that, and they read this one thing on ChatGPT and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. He's the one who has to live, or he's the one who has to make that decision. So I'm not going to be that guy for him. The other thing is everyone just doesn't know what to do. They act like you're already dead. So they let you just mull in it and feel sorry for yourself, but you're not dead yet. You haven't even fought yet. You haven't lost yet. So no, that said, you're allowed to be in it. You're allowed to process it. You need to experience and feel it, right? You just can't let it dictate your actions.
I like that. Yeah. That's how we kick back, right? And we take our emotions, instead of letting them cripple us, we use them like power, like a superhero. I like that. I mean, I'm looking back at your wall, and you've got a lot of accomplishments there, a lot of medals, a lot of ribbons. That's huge. How many you got total?
Well, this is a outdated background. This is actually my old living room, and I moved about 6 months ago. But I've completed 115 Spartan races, 6 major marathons, everything from Boston, Chicago, New York, and Berlin, and then maybe like 100 plus other events and sufferfests and counting. Now, as crazy as this is, though, that's like 8+ years of activity and work. I have friends of mine who do that in a year. And it just depends on their lifestyle. Now, like, I've been at this a while, so of course, like, I have a lot of them, but every year and every race is a little bit different for me too. Because it's always about me versus me. And in the first few years, it was about defying what I thought I couldn't do. And then it was sort of like just continuously toughing everything out. Like, I called Rocky Balboa my way through it, just chin out, and as long as I'm still standing at the end of the movie. But now I'm at a phase where I want to get better at what I do. Again, I'm 46 years old, and I still think I have room to improve. And I don't just mean like get faster. I mean get better. I'm going to do my first triathlon this year, something I swore I'd never do, with Michael Lombard and Alex Bates, another couple guys in and around the industry. And, that's something else that I'm also finding, that I now have the opportunity to influence the industry itself in a way that I never did before. Even when I commanded the will of 100 other people, it had nothing compared to being able to influence positive habits in others.
Amazing. And how do you coordinate it all? You have someone that helps you, or how do you get some of that stuff on the books and schedule and show up on time and all that?
For races or speeches, or for which part? What's that?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, how about that?
Well, it's funny, it's like a lot of people that I used to work will sometimes ask me, what do I do these days? Like, so what do you actually do, right? Because they see speaker, but nobody, like, what do I do? Bro, I do sales. That's what I do. So I do what I've always done. My day looks very much like a lot of other people's, right? I get up early, so probably earlier than a lot of other people, and I do my training first. My job is a little bit unique because, as you understand, social media is part of what I do. So posting videos, for example, is no longer fun. It's but then, you get up in that work day, and then it's about prospecting and trying to I spend my sales efforts for speaking are probably different than a lot too, where I'm really spending a lot of time in the industry that I've spent now 20 years in. So mostly what I do is I network my way through and trying to find just organizations and companies and teams and events where a message like mine will really benefit the audience. And then, so that said, the calendar's light and we're in full prospect mode. As far as races are concerned, a lot of that has to do with time and travel. So, for several years, I was traveling all over the world for these things. Whereas that was also 2 years ago when I was an executive in logistics with a nice healthy salary. And now that I'm a motivational speaker, with a fairly light calendar ahead of me, we're going to keep most of our races local this year.
I feel you. That's amazing. Yeah. And I love the real talk too. Like you said, it's a gradual thing. You can't just jump into it thinking you're going to check all the boxes. And you first, like you said, you were me against you or you against yourself. So yeah, that's awesome.
To be honest, I'm sorry, I was going to say, to be honest, like, I may replace this background at some point only because I like the discussion piece. But I posted a video on LinkedIn 2 weeks ago, and it was about failure. And it had a point to it, but what it was about 45 seconds of me failing obstacles in comical fashion, nonetheless. All right. Because I don't ever want someone to think that I do what you can't do.
Right.
It's vitally important to me. And because this did not start with this, it started with one. Talking to a driver right now is going to drive however many miles or sit through all this traffic or do all this bullshit. It starts with one. Same way I was on this run this morning that I wouldn't even call it a run. It was so damn slow. I'm like, I could be out here for an hour. I'm barely moving. And I literally thought to myself, I'm like, well, that's the exercise then. I just endure the hour. It had nothing to do with anything else. Just you have to suck it up being out here, period. That's it.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, you're full of a lot of good knowledge and insight for people to apply to a lot of different things. I do the same thing with my podcast. I don't want anybody to think that they can't do this. It's I make mistakes just like everybody else. I'm a human, and I love that you put that out there. That's great. And then from corporate climb to a motivational mission, you climb the corporate ladder in sales leadership at looks like Aramark and Cintas. Is it Cintas?
Nope. I was on the logistics 3PL side. I was with Blue Grace for a long time.
Okay.
I was a consultant for about a year and a half, and then I was with Sheer Logistics for the last couple of years before I left.
Yeah, some of that area right there. I made a mistake.
That's why we get to ask questions, though.
The message for truckers: our community of drivers goes unseen for long hours, like you said. If it's sleep deprived, far from your family. What message does someone like yourself want to share with them for just surviving right now, getting through the moment? Maybe they're not at that point where they're able to make those transitions. What would you say? Would you say just say, suck it up, buttercup, or would it be a gradual thing?
I would warn people. And what I mean by that is I'm going to out myself a little bit here is I've become increasingly antisocial and introverted. Not even introverted. That's not the right word. That's a personality. That's not an action. I've become increasingly isolated, and I could see it happening. But I think I started to notice it too late. Again, I work from home. Like, I'm working by the computer. And the fact is, like, I like talking to people like this, but it's also not the same. And so I'm not leaving the house enough. I'm not going to different and interacting and seeing strangers enough. And it's too easy to justify, like, to yourself that I don't need to be involved in the world, or I don't need to go be in crowds because I don't like them anymore, or whatever. Or you begin to lose track with friends because, I have nothing new to say, or all the excuses that we might tell ourselves. And I can just think of, I've never been a driver, but I can just see the isolationism become self-inflicted at a point. And I think it is imperative that I need to make decisive, deliberate actions to go be with other people. Everyone needs a wolf pack. Everyone needs a tribe. Nobody survives alone. And so, that's part of the reason why I like to engage online with various communities too, because you do see some of these people in real life. It's not like, we're not gaming here, but still, I need to go be part of my actual community everywhere I can. So for those on the road, call a friend, call someone you haven't talked to in a while, just exist. I was talking about a friend that, going through the tough time with cancer. I hung out with him a couple of weeks ago. Half the time I was just sitting next to him and we weren't saying shit. We probably get somewhere in this day and age, we feel like we always have to be doing something. And you're coexisting with somebody. You're not like spending time with them. It was good to just be there. That's all he needed, so just go be with people. But these behaviors, isolating adds to isolating. We have to actually take action, deliberate action the other way. And just dial on the phone and saying, yo, what up, is probably something that can change yours or someone else's life.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I remember looking at a movie back in I think it was 1993, The Pelican Brief. I think it had Julia Roberts in there, and she worked from home. And we were like, that is so weird. And now we all do it. Like, a lot of us do it.
And it's like all the time now. For what I do, it's perfect. And I work with the dogs. It's just, and I'm either actively engaging with other people, or I'm like sort of doing creative stuff. And so it's like, it really is the perfect environment for me. But I don't know, maybe I should just go out for coffee more often. Just go be at, like, again, just because it's not like I have a problem with there. Like, the life is pretty full. But, there might, other than seeing some other people in recovery, I might not see another person besides my wife for like 3 or 4 days at a time.
Okay.
And again,
my wife, she works from home too. And I try to say, hey, just go out, get coffee, just do something, because she'll get phone calls after phone calls after phone calls before you know it, it's late at night. And on the weekend, if you're trying to get caught up from things too, that can take your weekend away. So yeah, it's a big deal. And I think that's great advice, or like the warning, like you said, warning people to watch out for those certain behaviors that we start to adopt.
I see it in myself because, I get it. You'd be like, man, I have been on the road for 2 weeks. I do not want to go out tonight. I don't care that it's his birthday. Dude, get your ass up and go. Just go. Yeah. Like, just go. Just show up, man. Show up. Let that be the message. Just show up. It's also a mindset thing, too, because we should do things that we don't want to do. And that's what I remind myself sometimes. I'm like, dude, I do not want to go to this thing tonight. Come on. Why can't I sit here and do nothing? Like, I've been at it for like a week and a half straight. Fuck it. You know what? No, that means I need to go. It's no different than going for a run when I don't want to. Like, go be around other people, because otherwise it gets harder and harder. And I don't know, was it this month or last month that's Men's Mental Health Month or mental health? Either way, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it is, man. So you wrote the book. It's brutally honest. I think Through the Fire. What's the hardest chapter that you had to write? What's one of the ones you're most proud of? I guess the hardest and the proud.
The hardest is when my cat died. I never even edited it. For all I know, I don't know. I've never looked at it since the first time I wrote it.
Huh.
So we're not going to talk about that anymore either. And as far as the proudest, I like the message at the end. I really do. Obviously it's in the first person, and so it could sound like I'm beating my chest a little bit, but what I'm really trying to do is set the stage for you decide to live your life. Like, we may have longer to the starting line than we may want. That's what I like to talk, say diabetes, for example, but I get to run the same race. And as long as I accept that maybe it's going to be hard, maybe there's going to be failure, maybe there's going to be penalties and setbacks and disappointments, I'm going to come through the fire. Wonder how I know this? Scoreboard. Because you have every other time before. And that's why anyone else right now going through something, I guarantee you, I know for a fact you will come through it. And the way that I do is because you come through every other thing so far. There is no evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, made it this far, right? Why give up? If you want to predict the future, they say look at the past. So if you already did something that's monumental, or that you were able to break through, why can't you continue to do that again?
And at the end of it, I mean, there will be more pain. There will be more challenges, and they manifest in different ways, but the mindset that we use to approach them is the same. A physical obstacle versus a mental obstacle, an emotional obstacle, some sort of existential obstacle, it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
I like that, man. You're pushing through. I think you're going to help a lot of truck drivers out there, or even people in the sales community. I mean, that's very stressful. You're always chasing that sale. You're never done. They want to call you all the time.
That's what my second book, Selling Inspired, was really aimed at, was developing that mental endurance for a long sales career. We get it in our head sometimes that success is linear, or that the mountain is you just climb to the top, and when you get there, you're done. Like, I climb mountains on weekends, carrying heavy shit and obstacles. You never just go from up, down to the top. You switchbacks and up and down and around, and there is no peak. There's just another plateau. And that's where I was on the couch, on that plateau 8.5 years ago when my boss walked to my office, because I was peaking. And the reason I felt stuck was because there was more to climb, and I knew it, but I didn't want to. And so I needed that catalyst, that first step, just because I knew there was more to climb. And now I realize there's always more to climb. And I think, if you're perfectly comfortable where you are in life on that plateau, cool. Good for you. If you start to feel that tension right there, that's when you know there is more for you to give and you're not giving it. And that's when you need to look to make that other move. I mean, some people can exist on that plateau forever, but the most bitter people I ever met, they're not the ones climbing. They're the ones who are on the plateau, and they're pissed that they need to climb again.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, a lot of times people want to just be okay with the status quo. and they think that that's okay. So pushing yourself to be better actually can improve you as a person. And you think about a fighter, you mentioned, Rocky Balboa, he was like, I'm just a nobody, but he pushed through and it proved himself that he could do better, not just for himself, but it's for his wife, his future son. So yeah, it was a beautiful story that a lot of people were motivated by. And now you're living that. You're the real life Rocky Balboa. That's awesome.
Yeah, not exactly, but
that's good, man. Yeah, I mean, life can be messy. I mean, there's still progress to make. What's the most important tell in your story or your book that you felt you finished when you got there and you reached that moment?
Probably the greatest, fuck yeah moment that I ever really had was running the Boston Marathon. I've had some awesome races. I've achieved, like, Through the Fire really chronicles my pursuit of a Spartan trifecta, which are those cool red and green, blue medals behind me. But really, I ran the Boston Marathon in 2018 for the first time. And I mean, probably don't know this, but there was a nor'easter that year. It was arguably the worst weather conditions in the history of the Boston Marathon. But I grew up there. I'd been in the marathon a dozen times. I used to skip school or skip work and go watch the Red Sox and go see the marathon. And so to be there, like, running it, but I never wanted to run it until the bombing. And I was so mad after the Boston Marathon bombing. And I didn't know how to punch back. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to run the Boston Marathon one day. Fuck those guys. And, when I was actually in 2017, I was supposed to run the Chicago Marathon. And that's when I got in that car accident. I was unable to run for a couple months. So I just got mad and was like, well, I'm going to find out how to get into Boston. And so Boston for me was really, it was sort of choosing to become someone else, because I emerged from that moment of despair where I wanted to give up, and then 6 months later, I run the Boston Marathon. I raised $10,000 for charity in the process. It was just such an incredible experience. And again, I got hypothermia. I mean, it was 18 degrees and sleeting rain at the start. It was 40-mile-an-hour headwinds the entire time, torrential downpour. It was a hell of a story. And that one was just, when I crossed that blue and yellow line for the first time, it meant so much to me.
Nice. What about when you're at the start line? You kind of walk me through that. You're at that line and everything's about to happen, and you got there and you put yourself there in that moment. Describe to us what it's like to start a marathon, and what goes through your mind?
Oh man, I can't even tell you the Venn diagram and algorithms of thoughts that are going through my head. I'm a type 1 diabetic. So number one, I am just doing math. I'm doing math. I'm counting my sugars, time to when the last time I ate something, the next time I eat something, how long until the race goes, how much, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it does not stop. It's like a beautiful mind. And the hell's his name? Will Hunting from Good Will Hunting. Just doing like this all the time. So that's nerves, because I have to manage my blood sugars and I don't know what's going to happen next. Number two, I have to pee. I can have just peed. It doesn't matter. I have to. Yeah. That's happening in there 100% of the time. Besides that, there's one ritual. If my wife is with me, anytime before if she's not racing, anytime before I jump in the start corral, I always tell her I'll see her on the other side. I always say a quick prayer before every race. I just get down on the knee and I say, I pray for strength. And after that, I just try to keep it loose. I learned this when I played volleyball. I have an incredible heckle game. All right. Now, back when I was drinking, especially, I could talk shit. And most of the time it was for fun. And so if we're like joking around, we're friends, right? I'm playing against you and somebody else, whatever. And I'm talking all sorts of shit. You're talking shit. We're just having fun. I'm probably playing great. Okay. But let's say we don't like each other. And it becomes a little more adversarial. Okay. A little bit more like, not joking. And I want to beat you. I don't care if I'm 5 times a better player. I'm still losing that game. I don't play little like that. And I realized that back in the day, I just need to be happy and loosey-goosey. There was a time back, I almost never drank when I played volleyball because I was competitive. But one time back in Tampa in like 2008. I remember it rained for like an hour and a half or something in between games. So my buddy and I just got hammered at the bar. We had no idea that we were going to resume the game. And we ended up playing this top Florida team who plays on the AVP. And we took them to 18 points. And they were so mad when they couldn't put a ball away on us. I think it was just because we were so loose. But anyway, so I realized, I had realized a long time ago that I just can't, some people can dial in. And that's why I don't really resonate with guys like Grant Cardone or even Relentless, the guy who wrote the book Relentless, and certain things that are just, I need to be I'm competing for me, and I really can't have this death to my opponent adversarial type attitude, or you're just not going to get the best out of me. So I go into that event, into the starting line, and that's when I've done all my prep. I've meditated and visualized every obstacle or every mile, where the water stations are. I have a race plan, which is going to go to shit. It doesn't matter. But once I get in the corral, it sort of wants to just woosah and just unlearn. Find a friend, do some fist bumps, and just enjoy the community.
I like that. Enjoy the community. Enjoy the ride. You can feel like every moment is just drudging every moment, and you can hate it and try to look for that finish line, or you can just, like, if you're in a truck, you kind of gaze off and enjoy driving into that canvas. And even if it's just a open road and you see the mountains ahead of you, even if those mountains are full of snow, I mean, you enjoy the drive and the
those moments,
journey. That's good.
You mentioned there was a race in Cincinnati this past weekend. Well, actually, it was Perfect Slopes, Indiana. But I remember racing there 2 years ago, and this was one of the hardest races I had ever done. It was surprisingly difficult. But there was this one area, because it's a ski mountain, and it was like 1,000 degrees out. And we just find ourselves along this creek. Now, I live in Florida, okay? It's beautiful, but it's flat and boring, okay? And before I moved down here, before I started racing, I was a house cat. I'd go to the beach, and that's it. So, all of a sudden to find myself kind of climbing up a mountain on the side of this rocky creek, like, it was just this cool moment of serenity. Like, it was just me and the world. And as you mentioned that, like, I'm just picturing, of course, I'm sure any truck driver listening to this is probably stuck in traffic cursing the thought, but I'm thinking, man, how cool would that be? Like, out on that open road, like, maybe I'm the only one out there, just see that scene for just a moment and not worrying about becoming a YouTube video today. But it is those rare moments. And I mean, that's what life is all about, right? I'll tell you what, there's a mountain race that I've been chasing. This is my big goal. It's in Killington, Vermont. It's a Spartan race. It's a 31-mile obstacle course race with about 18,000 feet of climbing. I have failed that race 3 times. It's got the highest DNF rate in the country. It's the hardest race they have. And last year, I DNF'd it. As a matter of fact, I got really bad cramps and I had to tap out after 10 miles. But just before that 10 miles, early that morning, I was about 3,500 feet in the air, just above the clouds when the sun was rising. You could see for miles. It was just the most majestic thing I'd ever seen in my life. And it didn't matter how hard I had to suffer to get there. It was worth it.
That sounds beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
Amazing.
Like, I was grinding up the mountain, suffering, and this dude's like, "Hey, turn around." I'm like, "What? Holy shit." It was crazy.
That's great. Wow. Yeah, taking those moments like that really help you, get through life, and you can always reflect back on those. Nobody can take those away from you. Those are embedded in your mind, and those are yours. And going out getting those races, going out getting it. Hey, you did yourself a solid on that one. That's awesome. Yeah, I think so many other people can too. And I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your story. I mean, I can't thank you enough today for the insight, the inspiration that you're able to give from your journey and your obstacles. And your life's like a marathon. And of course,
it's an ultra.
Yeah.
Man, this is what I would like to say. Life is like an ultra. Marathons have clearly marked mile markers. They're on pavement. Ultras don't even have maps sometimes. And they could be 30 miles or 250 miles. So and anything that ever could go wrong, absolutely will go wrong. That's why I like running the ultras. It's good practice for life.
Yeah, I mean, think about beating cancer 4 times. And then now you get to help individuals with that. I mean, that's a lot of unknown factors there that you got through. What would you say that someone that's struggling with cancer right now, maybe that are listening to the podcast, what would you say to them?
Man, I decided a long time ago my approach to my disease, and to each their own. However, my approach is that I don't handle my disease. My doctors do. My job is to live my life as long as I can, as best as I can. And that's it. I would say that for someone else going through it, something I did not do very well about was talk about it then. And I isolated. And that was probably the wrong approach. But I'm not going to tell anyone else how to handle their illness. But I will say that there's nobody who's going through anything right now who's the first person or the only person ever to go through it. And whether or not you're somebody who wants to share your story now to get your own support, or you're somebody who can share your story later to give someone else support, you have a gift, and it may not feel like it. And I understand that not everybody's going to make it through either. But those are the actions we can take. I don't get to control the other thing.
Nice. I like that. I do. You can make it so complicated that you're trying to do too many things. And like you said, you focus on living your life as best you can, as long as you can. I like that. I think a lot of people will resonate with them on that. So thank you for sharing that. And to all the drivers out there, if you're listening to this in your cab or you're wondering if your life could be different, let Nick be the proof. He's the one that's able to go through these challenges and like I said, turn lemon into lemonade. Lemon, they come at you left and right. So he took those and he made a great drink with it. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Anything else you wanted to share before we go? Maybe something I missed or anything like that?
The only thing that I would want to, one thing that I'm highly skilled at is breaking things down to the wildly specific and stupidly simple. And usually what gets in our way of taking these action steps towards our life is what you mentioned, we overcomplicate it. And so, there's a few of us have been on this just large kick of trying to influence and change the culture of health and fitness in the industry. And so one thing I want to tell to anyone listening who is thinking that they want to do the same thing, schedule it. Step one. You may not have a regular schedule, but you have a schedule. You're going to have a good 10 to 12 hours when you ain't got shit to do. So schedule it. 30 minutes. As soon as you get to where you're going, get out the truck and do it. What are the things you can do? Simple shit, body weight exercises, squats, lunges. If you follow Michael Lombard, he actually put a bunch of videos up of stuff he used to do in his sleeper, glute bridges, stuff like that. 30-minute walk is something that will literally save your life. Number 3, nutrition. Again, I'm going to keep talking about Lombard right now. And today's 6'9", so he's got the Lombard 69, which is sort of like a 75 hard, but far more intro. And really, a lot of that focuses on nutrition, where he talks about getting protein. So I know, we talked about where you're driving and stuff like that. You may not have the best options for where you're going, but there are certain things you can plan for in advance. I'm not just saying high sugar protein bars, but like me, I don't travel without nuts. High protein, high good fat. So again, simple steps that we can take to influence our life. Number 4, books and resources. And number 5, there's lots of organizations out there that are actually trying to promote some of this health right now. Project 61 is one that comes into mind right now. So I just want to keep promoting this message, man, because I have the ability to. This is not something that anybody inside a brokerage knows about or talks about. And as a matter of fact, I don't think enough truck drivers are talking about it themselves. And I just want you to know how stupidly simple it can be to take the first action. Just schedule 30 minutes. You're going to be somewhere, schedule it. If you had a doctor's appointment, you'd go. If your wife or your husband or if your kid had an important thing, you would go. So if it's important, schedule it. The life you save may be your own.
Yeah, that's I couldn't say it better. I like that. I think that's something we all need to hear. Kind of, push ourselves to do that. We're all going to be sitting there. You got your head down on the phone. It's not helping you. If anything, it's probably making it worse. So getting out of the cab and being a little uncomfortable, just have some gloves if you don't want to touch the ground. But like you said, using your body weight, use the truck in itself. There's a lot of hooks on the truck. You can use the tires. That's just got to get creative because your life is important and it matters that you make it a top priority. And like I said, it's too easy just to fall into that rut. And I think you're helping inspire me. I got to do some more myself. So I used to really do a lot more weights, and now I kind of slump off a little bit. So I really want to get back to it. So weights really help me a good way to work out when you're not working out because those muscles are still agitated like that. So yeah, great job, you guys.
If I was coaching you, I'd say, when are you going to do it?
Yeah, I know, right? Today, right after we get done, right?
Oh man, that's it.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, I got to do some more myself. I think everybody else out there, we all can push ourselves to be a little bit better, even if you're doing great things like yourself, Nick. I'm sure you're constantly telling yourself you can do more. So find that way you can do that. So that's great. So we're not stuck, you're not broken, and you're just in the fire. And like he says in his book, you can get through it and you forge through and become steel. And you're also motivating others. So iron sharpens iron. Thank you. So yeah, make sure we check out the book Through the Fire on Amazon and also visit your website is stridemotivation.com.
Yes, sir.
Any other ways that people should get to know you? I mean, you do some public speaking.
I am all over the internet at Stride Motivation, social media, but absolutely check out my website and love to book a call and see me on stage somewhere.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on the show. It's your guy, Truckin' Ray. Keep the wheels turning out there. Keep your eyes on the road, off of the cell phone. There's too many distractions out there. We don't need any more. And also take care of your heart and your mind, just like Nick. Yeah. So we'll catch you next time. And that's delivered.
Are you a trucker looking for a safe and reliable place to park? Look no further than Truck Parking Club. With locations across the country, we've got the perfect spot waiting for you, whether it's daily or long-term parking. And right now, use promo code DELIVERED at checkout for an exclusive discount. Reserve your spot today at truckparkingclub.com and drive stress-free, knowing your parking is covered.